For many of us who've grown up watching Dragon Ball throughout the years, most of us were left wondering just when we will ever see the day where Dragon Ball will make its grand return on television with a new series, and on this day, January 7th, 2017, marks the very day Dragon Ball has made its triumphant return with its English dub. What's going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome to my Dragon Ball Super Episode 1 English dub review entitled A Peacetime Reward. Who will get 100 million Zeni leading into Dragon Ball Super Episode 2 next week? And I never would have thought in my wildest dreams, guys, we will see the day where Dragon Ball has a new series dubbed in English, and tonight for many people marks the triumphant return of Dragon Ball, because a lot of people haven't watched Dragon Ball Super as the rest of us have, but we finally have the return of Sean Schemmel, Christopher Sabat, we have Shane Douglas, Kyle Herbert, Monica Rial. Everyone is back on board with Dragon Ball, guys, and obviously enough, a lot of us have revisited this back on July when Dragon Ball first made its debut in 2015, and 2016 was a very impressive year, and now we finally have Dragon Ball being dubbed in English, guys, and obviously enough, we already know how things went. I'm going to start off by saying that the animation is completely different than how we originally saw during the very first episode of Dragon Ball Super, because you can tell based on the animation that they're using Blu-ray quality, which again is very good because the Blu-ray quality is definitely improved as opposed to the actual show when it debuted back in 2015. And again, guys, if you guys love Dragon Ball, a quick little plug, if you guys are not following me at Twitter, make sure to follow me at Twitter for more exclusive Dragon Ball information, and alongside, if you guys are new to the channel, then make sure you guys go on ahead and smash that subscribe button alongside turning on notifications. That way you guys are notified whenever a Dragon Ball discussion or review is up on my channel, guys. Alongside, if you guys are stoked that we're getting more Dragon Ball now than ever before with an English dub with our regularly scheduled program for Dragon Ball Super, then make sure you guys punch that like button square in the face, guys. Now, the episode starts off typically where we left off in Dragon Ball Z. We have a brief recap as to what happened between Goku, Vegeta, Majin Buu, and we have the entire recap and retelling of what exactly transpired during that time with Majin Buu, which brings us to our current situation with Goten, Goku, Gohan, and everyone else. And we have a brief recap as to the events that have transpired during the Majin Buu saga, and we start the episode off, obviously enough, with Goku having a job. He's trying to work. I mean, we see Goten trying to assist him, which I find to be very funny. Sean Schemmel, in my opinion, did an outstanding job voicing Goku. Obviously enough, it's been many years since we've seen Battle of Gods, since we've seen Resurrection F, and those were the last times we've seen Sean Schemmel play as Goku, presumably enough. And now we have Goku, you know, he's powering up after he was done eating, and we see Goten is on one of the farming tractors, and he's trying to do Goku's job for him while Goku rests up and he eats, and he kind of trains alongside, because in Goku's mind, he's envisioning Cell, he's envisioning Majin Buu, he's trying to train, because at this point, we're not introduced to Beerus until the middle of the episode, but we see how Goten gets distracted from Goku having to turn Super Saiyan and having to spar with himself, and he falls off the cliff. Goku notices this, he catches Goten before Goten dies via falling off the cliff, and we see how Goten and Goku are talking about, you know, Chi-Chi, and we're talking about the Ox King. Very nostalgic if you guys are original Dragon Ball fans, because we get to see the Ox King, we get to see Chi-Chi, everyone's in this episode. I mean, nothing major or in comparison to how we saw in the very first episode when this episode came out back in July 2015, but nonetheless, we see how Goku begins to explain to Goten that he can't properly focus. All he really cares about is training. However, he made a promise to Chi-Chi that he was going to work and earn a living for himself, because obviously enough, he needs to do something with his life. He can't just go out there and train, and he explained to Goten how he wanted to go to Kaiosama's place, King Kai's world, and train there. And we see how Goten isn't really understanding too much, but we see the interaction between father and son. But the overall emphasis, the overall focus in the beginning of this episode was Goku's supposed to work to earn a living because he needs to provide for his family. And then finally, we pan on over to our next segment, and of course, we have none other than Beerus the Destroyer. But before that even happens, we get to see how he's on this planet, and we see these alien beings serve up and prep this giant feast for Beerus because they want to please the Destroyer, and if the Destroyer is not pleased, he will destroy their planet. And I believe Jason Douglas and Ian Sinclair did a fantastic job as Beerus and Whis, as always, and that's what excites me more about this show, because now we have a lot to look forward to when it comes to Beerus and Whis, because now we only saw them in Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, and then as we progress on forward throughout the weeks, throughout the months, we're going to see Beerus' interaction with Champa, we're going to see the whole altercation between Beerus and Goku. So unlike Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, we were all wondering as to when we're going to see more or less of Beerus be interactive with our characters. Now more so than ever since the English dub is finally out, we're going to see that. But even in this episode, you cannot take away Beerus' feats, because we get to see the display and power that he has by simply tapping his finger on the table and taking away half of an entire planet. And of course, the best part for that was because he found the food to be a little funky chunky, a little bit too fat, and we saw how Whis was pretty much trying to talk him out of it, but Beerus doesn't care. That's his job as a destroyer. Trust me when I say nobody out there is going to be questioning him otherwise. And then we pan off to Hercule and Majin Buu, which is pretty funny because we see how Hercule keeps gloating and bragging about how he's #1, how he defeated Cell, how he defeated Majin Buu, and then we see Majin Buu make his presence known onto the public in front of cameras, and he's complaining that he's hungry. And it's pretty funny because we see how Hercule is trying to calm him down, and he's trying to get Majin Buu away from the press, from the media, and everyone's wondering as to who he is, what he is, but nobody really wants to know that it's actually Majin Buu because Hercule is still covering up and pretending that he was the one that actually defeated Majin Buu, when in fact Majin Buu is standing right in front of him. So we see how he's panicking, we see how he's trying to get Majin Buu to get back in the room, and we see how Buu, he begins to blow a fit, and he finally, wobbles his way back into the room. And I mean, for me at least, the nostalgia was there because after having to watch Dragon Ball Z, after having to witness Majin Buu fight Kid Buu, after having to witness Hercule make the attempts to save Vegeta, for Goku to launch the Spirit Bomb towards Kid Buu and stuff, it's just very nostalgic to see how finally we get to see Hercule and Majin Buu have that interaction in the form of an English dub, because we've seen that during the Japanese dub, and the Japanese dub is amazing in and of itself. I have grown to love the Japanese dub so much so, but having to see this takes me back to my childhood because I'll never forget when Hercule and Majin Buu had that same interaction. But now in this episode we get to see how they're much more emotionally invested, and we get to see how Hercule is telling Buu, listen, I'll give you a bubble bath, I'll try to get you some candy, and he gets engulfed in chocolate. And we get to see the premise of Videl and Gohan, and we see how Gohan is telling Videl how, she's always buying him these books and stuff, and how he has nothing to give her. And mind you, they got married as confirmed by Goten when Goten and Trunks were talking about getting something for Videl, in terms of Goten having a sister-in-law now because he hasn't gotten her anything. So we see how Videl tells Gohan that all she really cares about is having a scholar for a husband, and that's eye candy for her. That's the only thing that she wants from Gohan. So Gohan agrees, and we see Piccolo off in the distance, and he makes like this face because he knows that Gohan is now pussified, but it is what it is at this point. So we see how Goten and Trunks are making this attempt on to get Videl something, and it's pretty cute because we see them how they interrupt this couple for getting like this ring, and we see them flying around the store, and the couple freaks out. Again, I would have to say personally for me, guys, the overall voice acting, the overall feel is there. I felt like a kid. I feel like a kid again. It's not like I still feel like a genuine kid again. And they actually managed to keep the music from the original Dragon Ball show, which I again love. I love the OSTs from Dragon Ball Super because Dragon Ball Super, I believe, had some fantastic soundtracks from various different song producers and writers and stuff. So I think that yes, although a lot of you guys want to see Bruce Falconer, a lot of you guys want to see, Scott Morgan and all these guys return, I think more so now than ever that time and that era has passed, and now we have the Dragon Ball Super music adapted and embedded into the show itself. So again, I would have to say, and even while watching this, I kept saying to myself, I can't believe they started the episode off with previously on Dragon Ball Z. Think about that, previously on Dragon Ball Z, previously 15 years ago on Dragon Ball Z, so it's amazing to see how they rekindled that and they went back to explain to us like previously on Dragon Ball Z, this is what happened. And we get to see how Goku interacts with Goten about food, and he's like, yeah man, your mom wants me to work so much because I'm never around through the family and stuff, so I have no other choice but to work and provide. I mean, if it was up to him, he would go to King Kai's planet and train. And then we pan over back to Goten, and we see how him and Trunks are trying to go out there and they're trying to get Videl something, and it's pretty cool to see these kids interact. Hopefully down the line we get to see these two actually mature in age, because it's been quite some time since we've seen these people actually grow up, and Goten and Trunks have been kids now for many years. So I think more so now than ever as we progress on forward, they ought to have them age and mature, because we get to see a little bit of their childish acts in this episode, which I've grown to like, because this is the first episode, this is the first kickoff to a very amazing start, I would have to say. The animation, again, you have to really look at it, it's amazing. They took the Blu-ray quality, guys, and there were certain things in this episode that I found very comical, especially when Goten and Trunks managed to get quote-unquote toilet water for Videl as her gift, and she realized right from the start that it was actually just regular water, but the kids didn't really know. So it's actually funny to see Goten's response to this, because Videl was actually wondering as to what it was, and Goten replied by saying it's toilet water. So it's just like, you get someone toilet water, you know, as an anniversary gift is kind of funky if you ask me. But I think Mr. Satan Hercule was very gracious in this episode. We get to see the emotional level here because Mr. Satan shows up to Goku and Goten and he offers Goku 100 million Zeni, and Goku keeps saying, no, I can't take it, I'm sorry. And Hercule's persisting. He's just like, I have no one to give it to. Vegeta doesn't want it because he's married into the richest family in the world. Obviously enough, he is, and it's true. And Goku kept thanking Hercule about buying Gohan the big house that he lives in, because now we do know that Hercule was the one that actually bought Gohan the house that he lives in currently with Videl. So, you know, Hercule wants to give Goku the money for actually, you know, being a part of, you know, the victory celebration and defeating Majin Buu. And then we see Goku saying, no, you did your part too, kind of, you know. So we see Hercule kept saying, please take the money. And then Goku's being stupid. He asks, you know, is it more than 100,000 Zeni? And then Hercule says, yes, it's actually 1,000 more times than that. And then Goku's just like, oh man, like, I don't know what to do. And I think the best part was towards the end. Once Goku accepts the money, he goes to Chi-Chi, and Chi-Chi says, you know, now we can afford after school programs and private colleges and stuff. And Goku, I mean, he doesn't really care about all that. He just asks Chi-Chi, so can I go and train with King Kai now? And she goes, yeah, go ahead, whatever, I don't really give a damn, just drop by from time to time. So what kind of a father is Goku? Like, all he really cares about is just training. So he leaves, and Master Roshi barges in, and he actually starts asking, like, did you really get 100 million Zeni? Do you know how much porn we can buy with that kind of money? How many dirty movies? And we see Chi-Chi pretty much like bully Master Roshi out the house. It was just great, man. I mean, if you guys grew up on the English version, I mean, forget anything else, man. I mean, we've been watching Dragon Ball now for a very long time, but many Americans, many people out there who speak English, who understand English, who have never watched the Japanese version, they've been waiting for this for a very long time, and now we finally get Dragon Ball Super, guys. It was incredible. If you ask me, it brought me back to my childhood, man. But post your comments down below, because I'm definitely gonna watch this again, because they are giving a replay later on in the nighttime. But post your comments down below, guys. What are your overall thoughts on Dragon Ball Super now having an English dub? What are your overall thoughts on this episode? What are your overall thoughts on its performances? And what are your overall thoughts on the animation in comparison to the original very first episode of Dragon Ball Super? Guys, we're talking about a new series. Finally, for years, after demanding, after requesting, after wanting to see something new, something different in the franchise of Dragon Ball, we finally have the Dragon Ball Super English dub debut. So post your comments down below, guys. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe for tons and tons, and we're talking literally thousands of Dragon Ball related videos on this channel, guys. Make sure to go on ahead and browse on through if you guys enjoy the review. Make sure to punch that like button square in the face if you guys are stoked for the upcoming episodes of Dragon Ball Super. Make sure to comment down below. Thank you all for watching as always, guys, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Rejoice, ladies and gentlemen, because today marks the official day where Dragon Ball Super has returned, or at least in the form of an English dub, because now we've been asking for this for so long, and as a fan, I am so satisfied. I'm so excited to see what happens next. We have a lot to look forward to, guys, and don't forget to tune in later on tonight for my Dragon Ball Z Kai review. The final chapters of Dragon Ball Kai is going to be here, guys, so make sure to go on ahead and tune into that, and I'll be seeing you all in the next video. Take it easy, guys, and God bless. Peace.